We are taught from childhood that the highest achievement in life is to be good, to be kind, to be moral, to be virtuous. Parents, teachers, and even sacred texts place goodness before us as if it were the crown of existence. We are told that goodness is the shield against suffering, the cure for chaos, the light in the darkness, the one thing that can make the storms of life bearable. Fairy tales tell us that the good are always rewarded, that kindness will return to you in equal measure, that morality guarantees peace. Yet what if I told you that this very idea of goodness, the thing we have been trained to worship, can be the most dangerous illusion of all? What if the pursuit of being good becomes not your liberation, but your prison? George Orwell once warned us that morality itself can be twisted, bent, and sharpened into a weapon against the very people who hold it. A sword disguised as virtue, capable of cutting deepest into the souls of those who most believe in it. And in his words lives a truth that most people are too afraid to face. Sometimes the pursuit of being good becomes the chain that keeps you enslaved, the leash that makes you obedient, the mask that keeps you silent while the world around you burns. Orwell, born Eric Arthur Blair in 1903, was not born into fame or power. His life began in contradiction, close enough to the upper class to see their privileges, yet too far to truly belong. He described his family as lower upper middle class, a strange limbo of status, a balcony seat to society's theater of hypocrisy. From the very beginning, he lived on the edge of two worlds, one that praised virtue publicly, while privately rewarding cruelty, hypocrisy, and manipulation. He could see the sermons of morality preached on stage, yet he could also glimpse the machinery of greed and favoritism running behind the curtains. As a boy at Eton, one of Britain's most elite schools, he discovered his first taste of paradox. Teachers preached morality but rewarded conformity. They preached discipline, yet played favorites with those born into wealth. Students were lectured on honor, yet behind closed doors, bullying and humiliation were rampant. What was celebrated as virtue was often just a mask to hide power's cruelty. Goodness was a costume, a convenient story told to keep boys obedient, while the real game of survival was determined by status, privilege, and the ability to dominate. It was here Orwell first glimpsed the truth that would haunt his life, that society pretends to worship goodness, but in reality it kneels before power. This seed of suspicion followed Orwell into adulthood. It was no longer just a child's discomfort at hypocrisy. It became the lens through which he saw the world. When he joined the Imperial Police in Burma, he stepped into the very machinery of empire, wearing the uniform of authority, but inside he carried doubt like a stone pressing against his chest. Day after day, he enforced laws written not for justice, but for control. He punished men he did not believe deserved punishment. He watched power strip dignity from people simply because they were born on the wrong side of the empire's line. His conscience whispered rebellion, but the uniform demanded silence. His famous essay, Shooting an Elephant, captures this suffocating paradox with brutal clarity. Standing before a restless crowd, he realized he was trapped not by the elephant, but by the eyes of the people. He did not kill because it was right. He killed because obedience, expectation, and the performance of authority demanded it. In that moment, he understood that morality, as society defines it, can be nothing more than theater. He chose obedience over conscience, and that obedience made him a killer. That was his first great revelation, that society will praise you for being good, but their definition of good is nothing more than obedience to systems that may themselves be evil. But Orwell's journey did not end in Burma. The unrest in his spirit only grew louder. In 1936, filled with conviction, he traveled to Spain to fight against fascism. At last, he thought he had found clarity, the noble side, the righteous cause. For the first time, he felt he was aligning himself with truth rather than hypocrisy. Yet even in that so-called holy pursuit, his illusions were torn apart. He saw betrayal among supposed allies, propaganda twisting facts into weapons, lies dressed as truth, and men consumed not by justice but by ambition. He realized that war itself is a machine that devours virtue, even among those who shouted the loudest about freedom. He saw the seeds of tyranny. He was nearly killed not only by the enemy's bullets, but by the fractures within his own camp, by the very divisions of those who claimed to fight for justice. It was another revelation, more bitter than the first. Even when people claim to fight for goodness, cruelty hides in their shadows. Even when a cause looks pure, it can rot from within. Morality can be shouted from banners, printed in slogans, sung in anthems, and yet behind it all, the same hunger for power moves silently, waiting for its chance to take over. Orwell discovered that even the most righteous movements can become the very monsters they set out to destroy. These experiences carved Orwell's philosophy with the precision of a blade. They did not merely shape his thoughts. They burned themselves into his bones. He began to see goodness not as the world teaches it, but as it truly is, fragile, manipulable, and often nothing more than a mask for control. What most call morality could be flipped, stretched, and dressed up to serve the interests of power. To Orwell, goodness was no longer a shining light, it was a torch that could illuminate, but also scorch. His novels, Animal Farm and 1984, were not simple stories for entertainment. They were warnings carved in fire, etched with the urgency of a man who had seen too much. In Animal Farm, he illustrated how the dream of justice collapses into dictatorship, how the very language of virtue is stolen and twisted. The animals rise with hope, believing they have overthrown tyranny for fairness. Yet slowly, word by word, slogan by slogan, morality itself becomes propaganda. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad is not just a chant. It is the creation of a false morality designed to control minds and silence thought. It reduces complexity into obedience. It transforms justice into conformity. The words that once promised liberation become the very cage that imprisons. And then there is 1984, perhaps his darkest prophecy. In this world, the idea of goodness is not simply corrupted, it is inverted completely. To be a good citizen is to betray your neighbor. To be virtuous is to deny your senses, to abandon truth, to erase your own thoughts until nothing remains but loyalty to Big Brother. Here, morality has been turned upside down. Obedience is renamed as virtue. Independence is renamed as evil. Even love is corrupted, twisted into betrayal. The very definition of good becomes a lie, and evil is crowned as righteousness. This is Orwell's ultimate warning. In a corrupt system, being a good person often means being complicit in evil. And this warning is not locked away in the pages of history. It is alive today, burning beneath the surface of modern life. Look closely and you will see it. How many people choose silence because truth would cost them approval? How many repeat slogans not because they believe in them, but because silence would mark them as outsiders? How often is morality not a lived principle, but a performance, something branded, marketed and sold back to us in neat packages? We wear it like fashion, trade it like currency, display it like a badge of belonging. In our world, appearing good often brings more reward than being good. Virtue has been transformed into a performance art, applauded not for authenticity, but for conformity. The person who plays the role of morality often thrives, while the one who dares to embody it in truth is shunned. And Orwell, if he were alive to witness this spectacle, would ask the haunting question that pierces, deeper than any applause. Are you truly moral, or are you merely obedient? So what, then, does it mean to be good? Orwell's life does not give us a neat answer, but fragments, shards of truth sharp enough to cut through illusion. True goodness is not passive, not the shallow politeness that society rewards, not the smiling conformity that keeps the machinery of power turning. True goodness is not about being liked, nor about fitting neatly into the roles others have scripted for you. It is rebellion against lies, even when that rebellion isolates you and leaves you standing in silence against a roaring crowd. Real goodness is honesty so raw, so uncompromising, that it may cost you your comfort, your reputation, your relationships, even your life. Goodness is not safe. It is not easy. It is not a road paved with applause and approval. It is a battlefield where integrity is punished and obedience is rewarded. And here lies the paradox. The world does not always want truly good people. The world wants obedient ones. It wants those who will comply while believing they are righteous. It wants morality to be tamed, declawed, and dressed in obedience. True goodness, the kind Orwell glimpsed, is dangerous because it threatens the structures built on lies. Orwell himself lived this truth. He was never comfortable in society's embrace. He was too restless to sit quietly, too honest to conform, too stubborn to bow to the illusions that most people worshipped. He fought with his pen. He exposed the masks of power. He carved through the pretenses of morality with words that still sting decades after his death. And though his body gave out at only 46, his words carved a scar into history, a scar that refuses to heal. A reminder that the truth is always painful, but always necessary. He showed us that morality can be corrupted, that goodness can be a trap, that even conscience, the very thing we are told to trust, can be used against us when twisted by the hands of power. But he also left us with something greater, a choice, the hardest choice of all. Will you be the person who conforms, applauded by the system for being good in their eyes? Will you settle for their approval, their hollow praise, their staged acceptance? Or will you dare to be good in truth, even if it leaves you standing alone, misunderstood, branded rebellious, or even dangerous? And maybe that is Orwell's final gift to us. That goodness is not obedience, but courage. That morality is not about appearing righteous, but about refusing to betray truth no matter the cost. That integrity is not a shield to protect you from the world, but a cross you must be willing to carry. If you truly want to be good, you must embrace solitude, because integrity rarely walks with crowds. It does not move in armies. It does not win popularity contests. It does not thrive in comfort. Integrity walks alone, in silence, in resistance, and it is in that solitude where true goodness is born.